You take your vitamin B12 every morning. Maybe you've been doing it for years. You feel responsible, disciplined, even calm because you're doing what you're supposed to do after 60. You follow the routine. You don't skip days. You don't improvise. You trust the process. But let me ask you an uncomfortable question. What if I told you that after 60, taking vitamin B12 does not necessarily mean your body's actually using it? What if that daily pill, so familiar, so automatic, is quietly not reaching your nerves, your brain, or your muscles, even though your lab tests say everything is within range? Let's go straight to the first mistake, because this is where almost everyone fails without realizing it. The first mistake is believing that taking B12 is the same as absorbing it. It sounds logical. You take it, it goes into your body, it does its job. That's what we assume. But after 60, the body no longer works the way it used to, even if no one tells you this clearly. At this age, the stomach produces less acid, fewer enzymes, less digestive precision, and that completely changes the fate of vitamin B12. B12 is not a simple vitamin. It doesn't work on its own. It doesn't pass through the digestive system like water. It requires a very specific, delicate, almost surgical process to reach the right cell. When that process fails, and it fails far more often than you imagine, the vitamin passes through your body, but never gets where it truly matters. You follow the routine. Your body cannot complete the absorption. On paper, everything looks correct. At the cellular level, your nerves are still working without the fuel they need. And this brings us to the second problem: blood tests, because many older adults trust a number that does not tell the whole story. If the lab report says you're normal, you feel relieved. But those normal ranges do not represent optimal health. They represent statistical averages of already declining populations. In other words, they don't measure performance. They measure minimum survival. In many medical systems, a level of 200 or 250 picograms per milliliter is considered acceptable. But from a neurological perspective, that level is already a risk zone. In countries with a true preventive approach, levels below 500 raise red flags. And then something dangerous happens. Your test says normal, but your brain starts to slow down, your balance becomes unstable, your memory feels sluggish, and your nerves begin sending faulty signals. This is where many people say, it's just age. But no, it's not just age. It's poorly managed biology. Vitamin B12 doesn't just give you energy. That's a dangerous oversimplification. B12 is a structural component of the nervous system. It plays a role in forming myelin, the protective coating around nerves that allows signals to travel quickly and clearly. It supports the production of healthy red blood cells that deliver oxygen to the brain. It participates in DNA repair. It supports mitochondrial function, the energy plants of every cell. When B12 doesn't reach the right cell, the damage doesn't happen overnight. It appears slowly, silently. First as tingling, then as clumsiness, then as frequent forgetfulness. Later as falls, insecurity while walking, constant fatigue, mood changes, and a sense of mental disconnection. And here's a key point almost no one explains clearly. The stomach ages faster than the rest of the body. After 60, more than half of people produce less hydrochloric acid. That acid isn't just for digesting food. It's essential for releasing B12 from the proteins that carry it. Without enough acid, the vitamin remains locked in. It passes through the digestive system intact, and it's lost. But there's something even more critical: intrinsic factor, a protein produced by the stomach that acts as the exclusive transport vehicle for B12. Without intrinsic factor, the vitamin cannot cross into the bloodstream. And with age, production of this factor drops dramatically, especially in people who have used antacids, lived with chronic stress, or had long-term stomach inflammation. This is where the big trap happens. You take the vitamin, your lab test looks acceptable, but your cells are literally starving for B12. That's why some people with normal levels develop advanced nerve damage. The problem isn't how much you take, it's your body's inability to use it. Now we reach the next serious mistake: the method of administration. Most older adults still swallow hard tablets, expecting their digestive system to work the way it did years ago. But after 60, that route is often outdated, without enough acid, without intrinsic factor, without digestive precision. Actual absorption can be extremely low, in some cases, barely 1%. When the strategy shifts to a sublingual route under the tongue, the story changes. That area is rich in capillaries that carry the vitamin directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the stomach and intestines. This isn't magic. It's biological logistics. Then comes another silent mistake, the chemical form of B12. Many people take cyanocobalamin without realizing it. A synthetic form, cheap, shelf-stable, but costly for the body. That form requires conversion. It demands liver resources. It consumes antioxidants. It relies on systems that after 60 no longer work as efficiently. There are active forms, methylcobalamin and adenosylcobalamin. These do not require conversion. The body can use them directly. When this change is made, many people notice something deeper than just energy. Clearer thinking, better emotional stability, less tingling, improved coordination. But here comes another key point, consistency. B12 is water-soluble. It isn't stored in large amounts. What isn't used gets eliminated. Nerve repair is slow, millimeter by millimeter, day by day. Taking it inconsistently interrupts the process. Taking it only when you feel tired doesn't repair structural damage. Even timing matters. Taking it at night can interfere with deep sleep because it activates stimulating neurotransmitters. And without deep sleep, there is no neuronal repair. Hydration also plays a critical role. Thicker blood transports nutrients less efficiently, and peripheral nerves, hands and feet, are the first to suffer. On top of that, medications like metformin, acid blockers, and alcohol are all known to interfere with B12. This doesn't mean stopping treatment. It means adapting the strategy. And here's the honest part. B12 doesn't solve everything. It doesn't release compressed nerves. It doesn't neutralize high blood sugar. It doesn't repair advanced mechanical damage. But when used correctly, it can make the difference between continued decline and stability. The conclusion is clear. After 60, it's not enough to simply take vitamin B12. You need to know how, when, and in what form to take it. A nice number on a lab report doesn't guarantee a clear mind or functional nerves. Strategy does. And when that strategy is applied correctly, it can give you something invaluable. Confidence in your body, security when walking, clarity when making decisions, and real independence. If you've made it this far, I invite you to do something very simple. Subscribe to the channel, because this space is for people like you, those who refuse to accept that's just aging, and instead want to understand their bodies and care for them intelligently. Health disclaimer. The information presented in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It does not replace medical diagnosis, treatment, or advice from a qualified physician, nutritionist, or healthcare professional. Every person is different, and health needs may vary depending on medical conditions, age, current medications, or medical history. Before starting, stopping, or changing any supplement, vitamin, or health habit, always consult your healthcare provider. This channel does not promote self-medication and does not guarantee specific results.